When he smiled, my soul left my body. The nurses put me in the morgue. The doctor lowered the car window and said, "Imam Reza has brought him back to life." I used to work at the Mashhad thread factory. I was hired in 1953. In 1958, my coworker started feeling ill. At that time, we didn't have insurance, and there weren't many doctors around. The thread factory had a contract with a doctor who would visit the factory every day and examine the sick employees. I went to him as well, and he prescribed medication for me. I got the medicine from the pharmacy. That night, I started feeling worse. The next day, they took me to the hospital. I was bedridden for 5 months. They took me to a room where I was alone. Because of the injections, my body had sores. I was constantly crying and saying to Imam Reza, "Heal me. If you heal me, I will come and put 2 tomans inside your shrine." The rial is the Iranian unit of money, and every 10 rials is equivalent to 1 toman. If you don't heal me, I will complain to your sister, Hazrat Masuma. I don't know how many times I repeated these words, but I repeated them a lot. The doctors came to examine me, and as they were leaving, I told the head of the department, whom I have his picture as well, "If I'm dying, send me home to die in my own house." He asked who said you were going to die. I said no one. I feel unwell. The doctor touched my head, wiped his tears, and left the room. The nurses came and put my bed facing the Qibla. The Qibla for Muslims is the Kaaba in Saudi Arabia. All Muslims pray facing the Kaaba. If someone is dying, they face them towards the Qibla. When they positioned me towards the Qibla, I realized I was dying. With a lot of crying, I called Imam Reza and said, "Oh, Imam Reza, you didn't come to me?" Suddenly, I saw a young man standing in front of my bed. He was very handsome and beautiful. I couldn't speak to him. He didn't speak to me either. He just smiled. When he smiled, my soul left my body. After that, I didn't see that young man anymore. The nurses came, tied my feet and eyes. I tried to catch them. I told them, "Why are you doing this?" The nurses put me in the morgue. There were no mortuaries like nowadays. At that time, they poured ice on me using a shovel. I kept saying don't do this, but it was of no use. They poured the ice and left. I would come out and look at my body and then go back in. They had informed my family of my death. At that time, we didn't have telephones, so if someone died, they would bring a coffin and place it in front of the deceased house. I was walking back and forth between our house and the morgue. My parents, brother, and sister were hitting themselves in grief. I tried to stop them, but it was of no use. I would talk to them, but they couldn't hear me. Then I would return to the morgue. I didn't know what to do. There are other things that Mr. Milani told me not to tell anyone. For this reason, I haven't told anyone and won't tell. Later, I saw 2 young boys performing ablution. Ablution is a ritual washing of hands and face. Muslims perform ablution before entering religious places, reciting the Quran, and praying. The 2 boys were in the Fadak garden. I asked them to please save me. They pointed in one direction and said, "Go ask for help from them." I turned in that direction and saw 2 men. One was sitting, and the other was standing. I asked who they were. They said, "They are my grandfather, Imam Reza, and his father, Imam Kazim." Mr. Milani, when I asked, said that the 2 boys were Imam Hadi and Imam Hassan Askari. At that time, I didn't know it was the Fadak garden. In 1978, I went to Mecca in Saudi Arabia by car. It lasted about 6 months. There, I met Ayatollah Misbah. He said, "Let's go to the Fadak garden." When we went, I realized it was the same garden I had seen in my experience. I went to Imam Kazim. He touched my body, and Imam Reza poured something like dried mulberries into my shirt collar. The mulberries fell on the ground, and I was busy picking them up from the ground. They gave me other things and said to immerse the peel of what we gave you in water. After that, my soul entered my body. I don't know who opened my feet and eyes in the morgue, but I know I came out from under the ice. It was dark there as well. I tried to feel around to find my way. My hand hit the bodies that were there. As the third funeral shroud was placed on me, I got scared and fell to the ground. Then Imam Reza came to me. I said, "Why didn't you take me out of here? Why didn't you save me?" I handed him 2 tomans. He said, "This is the 2 tomans you promised to vow that if I heal you, you will throw it inside my shrine. Put this inside my shrine. Do not complain about me to my sister." This shrine of Imam Reza is in the city of Mashhad, Iran. Sometimes people intend to do a good deed if their problem is solved. For example, they give money to the needy. Some of the people who visit the Imams throw some money inside the shrine, and this money is used to help the needy and for good deeds. I got up again. Imam Reza had left. The 2 tomans were still in my hand. Even though there was no light there, it was bright. I saw that besides myself, there were 5 other corpses there. I saw the door and went behind it, screaming for them to come and save me. The hospital guard passing by saw me. Later, the words of that guard were published in the newspapers. The newspaper headlines stated that a boy had been revived in Imam Reza Hospital. Even up to the time of my marriage, this newspaper was being sold around the Imam Reza shrine. When the guard came, he asked, "Who are you?" I said, "Imam Reza has revived me. I am well." I don't know if he didn't have the key or didn't have permission to open the door, but he said, "Don't make noise. I'll come back now." After a while, I saw a few people coming. They opened the door. I threw myself into the arms of the guard. They took me to the ward and dressed me in hospital clothes. They wanted the 2 tomans in my hand, saying, "Give this money to us." A voice in my ear whispered, "Don't give the money." I had said that Imam Reza had given the money. I didn't give the money to anyone. When the weather turned bright, the doctor came and saw that I was the same boy who had died and now come back to life. 33 hours had passed since that incident. The doctor also wanted the 2 tomans from me, but Nada didn't come to give the money. I didn't give the money either. The doctor wasn't upset with me. He asked, "Do you know your home?" I said, "Yes." We got into the hospital ambulance, and he accompanied me. They took me home. People had gathered and wanted to come to the hospital to receive my body. People crowded around the ambulance. The doctor lowered the car window and said, "Imam Reza has brought him back to life. I brought him to inform his family. Don't go to the hospital, so it doesn't get crowded. I will take him to the hospital for legalities." The neighborhood elders silenced the people. They took me home. My family came and cried. Everyone who said, "Give me the 2 tomans," Nada would say not to give them. Even my father pleaded a lot. My mother, who told me to give the money, Nada didn't come. I gave the money to my mother. She kissed the money and gave it back to me. He took me to Ayatollah Milani's house. He hugged me and sat me next to him. I told him the story, until I said I saw a beautiful mole. He ordered to play the drum. The drum is a song played at the Imam Reza shrine. At the time of the call to prayer or curing a patient, people go up on a tower and play it live each time. That's the drum. He wanted to take the money from me. Nada had told me not to give the money. I gave the money. At that moment, the doctor said that he hadn't given the money to anyone, he had only given the money to his mother. Now he gives you the money. Ask him why he doesn't give the money. Mr. Milani asked me why I didn't give the money to anyone. I said, "Someone in my ear told me not to give the money, but when you and my mother asked me for the money, no one told me not to give the money." The doctor wanted to take the money from me to give me other money, and I would throw it into the shrine. Mr. Milani asked what Imam Reza had said to me. I also said that he had told me to throw the 2 tomans that I had vowed into the shrine and not to complain to his sister. Mr. Milani said that I should throw these same 2 tomans into the shrine, not any other money. I said that I had touched the dead. He sent me to the bathhouse to wash myself. In Islam, someone who touches a corpse must wash in a specific way in their bathhouse. They rinse their head under the shower without any detergent, then the right side of the body, and then the left side of the body. It's not a difficult task. Everyone got ready to go to the shrine. We approached the shrine. The servants opened the way for me to throw the money inside. I was about 30 centimeters away from the shrine when the hand of Imam Reza came out of the shrine and took the money from me. Only Mr. Milani and I saw that hand. But the rest of the people saw the money magically going into the shrine. Mr. Milani asked me if I had seen Imam Reza. I said I only saw his hand. Mr. Milani said he also only saw his hand. The servants threw themselves on the ground and wept. Mr. Milani took me to his home at night. Neither he slept nor let me sleep. He prayed and cried. In the morning, the doctor came and took me to the patients in the hospital, then brought me back home.